Welcome to Pay-to-Play report for Settler 7 Paths to the Kingdom. This is a PC exclusive game. It's a 7th game in the Settler series. This is a kingdom builder game where you're using indirect control to set out priorities and set out production things, such as what you want to produce and so on, as well as what you want to build, and then you're letting the settlers, the workers are here called, to do all that stuff. They'll be the ones building stuff and so on. You do not have a direct control over them at all. I'm playing the history edition of the game, which includes all the DLC that was released for the game. So that includes the Uncharted Land, Conquest, the Empire, Rise of the Rebellion, and the Two Kings. As a result, I have all those missions that came into those DLCs available to me. Visually, the game runs pretty well. It's around usually 30 FPS that it runs. I'm not sure why it doesn't run at higher FPS, but you know what? It's sufficient for this game because you're looking from top down. You're not going to be zooming in. You don't really need a high FPS count. It's not like it's a first-person shooter or something like that. So, what's the game about? The game, well, it has a main campaign which focuses on you start off here, and then it has like maybe 5 tutorial missions, I think, and then you get into the normal missions proper of the campaign. It starts out a story of conquest of a kingdom. There's a twist in this game available. Not in the game, in the campaign, in the story itself, that happens, but it's pretty obvious. You can see it from a mile away when you go play through it. And the game kind of sets out the whole good versus evil theme, but it tries to kind of flirt around with the idea that maybe the player's actions are not completely justified or not completely good. And then it kind of ruins it by saying, yeah, it was all bad. Now you are on the right side. Really, I wish it have left them a bit more ambiguous and so on. Now, further, then there is also the DLC added a few more it added a few more scenarios. There's two different scenarios, very long ones, and there's a campaign which acts as a prequel to the main campaign to play through. I completed all of them. I played them on the hardest possible difficulty when available. So there you go. So that's based on what I looked and see in the game. That's what I'll be talking about based on that. Visually, everything's gonna be good in the game. But before we get to the visual section, let's talk about the other thing that's available in the game. It's a skirmish mode. So here we have skirmish mode. Plenty of maps available, and we're gonna just take the first one, and I'm gonna show you how the game plays just based on that. Now, visually, as you're gonna see, the game is pretty good. It's easy to see what the different buildings are. All different buildings are different in their own way, so you can recognize them easily. You then able to kind of look at things and immediately understand like what I have here built, constructed. There's slight differences in terms of how the residences look in the game. By the way, I can zoom in, zoom out, and rotate the camera. And you're going to be mostly zoomed out when you're playing the game. So here we have different buildings here. Somebody built a sawmill here for some reason. For us, so that's useless here. We're going to destroy that, and we're going to destroy one of the woodcutters here, and we're going to put a sawmill there instead. We also have a quarry here, and we're going to build up additional one. Good, so let's see. Okay, this one hasn't disappeared yet too. Hopefully it will. And yep, so there you go, I built a sawmill.
Your enemy can now use a new trade.
Now the game tells me something was going on, and as you can see, I'm rotating so to make things easier for me. And here I'm gonna build something. I just press on any area with the mouse, and it allows me to build a building. Now, usually you kind of can rotate the buildings too, and then you build the main building, which is a lodge, and then you build different workyards for it, which they'll do different things. So in this case, it's gonna be a forester who's gonna plant the trees back in. There's gonna be a woodcutter who's gonna cut the trees down. There's gonna be a sawmill that's going to process wood into planks, and then we're going to connect it by the road so that we can transport the goods from there, and we're going to put a storehouse next to it so that the storehouse will house a worker who will carry things away from the lodge to the storehouse, store them, and then carry them to the new work sites or wherever they need to be further used, processed, and so on. All that will be performed by the workers here. Here we're gonna also delete this windmill. I don't need the windmill here. Instead, we're gonna change that to. We're gonna put windmills here while we're waiting for that broken windmill to disappear. We're gonna put in Iranian barn there. There you go. So that's just basically the basics of construction. Like I said, you press things and so on. Like I mentioned, there's different residences. They all look slightly different, which makes them a bit of a, interesting that way. There's normal residences, there's a noble residences. Different ones have different workyards, which allow you to build different things. So here there's different workyards available. Depending what you need, you're gonna add those workyards and so on. Residences are needed here to full the population. So if you need to add, if you run out of space, you need to build new residences, right? There you go. I'm gonna build another one. There you go. All right. So that's pretty straightforward here. Nothing kind of difficult. So what else available? Well, you see here the chest. This is a chest that allows to give me rewards for reaching certain goals while I'm playing the game. It could be that I reached a certain population limit, I conquered an area, or I did something else and so on, and that gives me different rewards. Additionally, I also have something called prestige available. Prestige allows me to unlock further buildings in this tree. So if I click here, now this will unlock certain buildings for me, such as the church. I can build a church. I can build a military building now also. And I'm gonna position them here. And as you can see, as I'm doing that, the settlers are starting out and they're moving about, carrying things, building things as they're required. And I can monitor the progress here in a queue that I have. This is a building queue, this is a military queue, religion, science, it's the same queue here, and trade. I can move these queues around if I want to prioritize certain queue over other one. That's also available to me perfectly. Alright, so that's done. What else we should do here? Well, I think I'm gonna build up a bit more farms, grain farms. The reason is that, well, we're gonna need a lot of grain. Settlers are very hungry bunch. They do need to eat, and then we're gonna use grain also for other things that we will be building and researching and so on. So that's why I'm gonna put up that. And finally, I can also speed up the game or slow it down by clicking here. So there you go. So now the game's gonna go a bit faster. Now rotating things is pretty important depending on situation. Sometimes it's easier to place buildings, sometimes you might not notice resources because some kind of other building or some features of terrain obstructing it. So how that situations happen. So then you gotta make sure you rotate your view as necessary. Buildings can be upgraded further if as required, depending that it gives additional benefits. So there you go, we got another reward for population. So I'm gonna choose a reward. I'm gonna choose tools here in this case, and so we go. Now that we got a population reward also, and we begin to build things that are gonna use different grains, let's build up a few more of those buildings. We're gonna need a bakery here, a brewery here. Since we're building up a brewery there, we might we also should put up a storehouse next to these buildings so that we can transport goods much faster. And brewery is going to need water, so we're going to put up a fountain. We're going to put another fountain here so that there's enough water being supplied to the brewery, and might as well build up another brewery here. Now, I talked about prestige, so how do we get prestige? Well, prestige is got by building a certain prestige buildings type of style. So here it is, I'm building things a cemetery around the church. That costs, each one of those things costs one stone, and that upgrades me to a next prestige level. Each one of those dots is one of those improvements. Otherwise, I can also build prestige buildings. They cost different resources, but I can choose which one, and they also different size. I can just put a prestige building, and again, that will contribute to prestige. Other ways you can earn prestige is by conquering territories. So, totally possible, totally valid way to do it. There's a ability to earn prestige if you do trading. Trade allows you to do to earn prestige here as well. Researching technologies also earns you prestige. So again, different things are available to you to do so, and as you go on.
Watch out. You're losing
So
the victory
as we now build up the church, let's get some monks, and this is how we research technology. That's why religion and science is kind of one thing here, because you're gonna send your monks to the different universities on the map,
lost a victory point.
and this will allow you to research new technologies. So there you go, the delivering. The guys will deliver here the settlers' products to the church, and then based on that we are going to have ability to research technologies. Now, as you can see, technology trees, this is done this way. Technology trees vary from mission to mission, and you can change them up in a skirmish mode also. But one thing that you see is that each university type here, we have 3 university types, sometimes there's a 4th. So, but from each one there's a kind of line saying that you can start researching these technologies. Each technology can only be researched by one player. So you can actually effectively block an enemy from researching something by taking over certain technology. So let's say if I want this technology, I'm going to take it right now. And once it's researched, the enemy cannot jump to the ballistics research unless they, of course, they research everything from this side and so on and get to it somehow else. So from that perspective, sometimes it's very kind of a strategic to try to research things and to close off research opportunities to the enemy.
You're on the path to victory.
So that's one way to do it. The other thing is that while research is going on, the enemy can outbid you by sending more monks to the university. That's also possible, so you gotta be ready for that. And there's some kind of that kind of strategy happens, so on. So there we go. So that's we started off with building up our here's area and so on. So I think the last thing that I need to talk about while I'm showing things on this map is that the victory points. The game is constantly talking about them right now as we playing along. So what are these victory points? So what are we talking about here? By the way, I should actually put up a storehouse somewhere here so that it's easier for my guys to transport things. So victory points are here. There's a different things that you can do to earn victory points. We need to earn 8 to win this scenario. Different things allow us to do so. Victory points can be earned based on a whole bunch of things. You can do research technologies, and here's a victory point there. Having the most technology research also gives you a victory point. Right, so I just checked on something there because I didn't realize that there was a quest available. So, but additionally, victory points can be this could be special sectors on the map which grant you victory point if you fulfill wherever that sector is requesting. Trading has victory points right there. There's one victory point here, there's one victory point here available to you. If you have the most trading places opened up, you get a victory point. Same as technology. If once enemy takes over certain trading area, it's not available to you. But you can move through it at least. But it will cost you gold to move through it again. But at least it's available to. You can further proceed. So you cannot really cannot be really cut off from trading opportunities further on. And trading is actually pretty useful because if you open up different trading posts here, when you click on the marketplaces, sometimes in different areas and so on, they allow you to sell goods or buy goods or exchange goods for each other. And there's ability sometimes to kind of do a certain chain of supplies where you end up in a very big plus, because let's say you're gonna take good A, sell it for good B, then take good B, sell it for good C, and then sell good C for good A, and you end up with much more good A than you started out in the beginning. That's also possible. For all this, you're gonna need different buildings, different units, and so on to begin research. Like here's different units for the trading, different monks for the researching and technologies you're gonna need, and different military units available in the stronghold to be purchased, to be hired. You actually also you can hire soldiers also through the tavern, but at different prices, and also you can hire generals here. Alright, so that's a general introduction. Let's jump into the game, which is slightly more advanced, forward, and where I don't really need to worry about the enemies right now or something like that. And I'll show you exactly how things look in a more developed sense as such. So that's I think the final mission of one of the DLC campaigns. There's not much there that to spoil because there's not gonna be much text available here right now. The voice acting is only available in the main campaign. The DLC does not have voice
ability.
acting, so there you go. So here we are. So you see that's a kind of a more developed area city. We have more buildings and so on. Buildings are upgraded, so you can upgrade buildings up to 3 times. That means the buildings will have, not all buildings actually, it's only, you can upgrade constructors, you can upgrade storehouses, residences, and you can also upgrade your military buildings, all the church, the export office, and the stronghold that constructs your units. All these buildings then will have more people working in them, which means they'll work faster. So more people working in storehouse means they move products around faster. More people working in the constructor means they build things faster, and so on. So you gotta kind of prioritize this way. You can also upgrade your roads from dirt roads to stone roads. People will move faster on the stone roads, and so on. So here we have our generals. Have them hired on, so they have their own soldiers, and then under them, as you can see, either by clicking on them, I can see what kind of soldiers they have is them, and so on. I can move soldiers between the generals if I want to. The military aspect here is very straightforward. It's not very complicated. There's not much here to in terms of complications, how to do things, and so on. So there's not much of an RTS elements here. One thing that I'm going to show you here is right now, you see here, a message indicates that the resource has run out, so I cannot further exploit it, so therefore I'm just gonna remove this building. I don't need it. Sometimes you can exploit, so in this case this person is saying that they don't have enough resources, but eventually they will, and I'm gonna explain how. Because I did unlock the geologist ability. That means that I can reopen mines. So mines for gold, coal, iron do run out, and if they do, then if I send in a geologist, let's say convert one of the guys from mining, or let's say for coal here, to being a geologist, they will slowly start reopening the mine. Now that's not available with stone, but geologists do also produce stone at the same time. So therefore it's kind of, all the resources are renewable if you kind of handle them correctly. If you don't handle them correctly, you're gonna run out of resources. So there we go. So that's kind of, as you can see, this is more advanced cities. So you see more buildings being built, different indicators here telling me there's issues or something on that I need to look into it, and that's pretty much how the game plays. And here's unupgraded roads that I should actually upgrade maybe. There we go. So what else to say? Yes, that's right. The towns can have walls around them, so as you start out there's not gonna be walls, but then you can build first wooden walls and then stone walls which protect your town, so the enemies will have to break through them. Similarly, the smaller settlements have kind of a stone ramparts available, or the wooden ramparts first and then the stone ramparts. To beat the stone and wooden ramparts, the shooting units I need. So let's say I'm going to send my army here now to attack. Here it is, it's coming out. So it has units that have cannons and the musketeers, and these guys can break through the different ramparts available. But the hand-to-hand combat units cannot do so. I can also send another army if I wanted to. I don't have to just send one. I can always send multiple armies and kind of overwhelm the enemy that way if I wanted to. So if you don't have the shooting units, you won't be able to defeat the fortified positions. But just having shooting units is not always good, because what will happen is that if the enemy has hand-to-hand combat units, they'll kind of swarm against your shooting units and kind of kill them all at the same time. So it's good to have a certain mix of them. Different generals have different abilities, so when you hire on the different generals in the tavern, let's use a minimap to jump here, and if I look at the tavern here, different generals, and it will tell me what this general is good for. Like say this is a melee fighter, so hand to hand. This is more of a close combat and long range combat at the same time. This guy is good for musketeers and cannons and so on. This one is good for against fortifications. That's pretty much how the things work. And here we go into the combat now, and that's how the combat looks like. You don't really control much except that I sent my units here, and that's it. Now they're just gonna kind of fight things out themselves. So again, very much the game plays in the indirect control. You do not set out anything to do here. You don't set out specific commands to any units, but you set out generally the idea of what should be produced through prioritization of things and so on. And then the units, the AI that handles the whole thing will try to do its best to fulfill what you require of it, given how you build up your city, supply lines, supply chains, and so on. All that matters. So I really like that aspect of the game, because you gotta kind of think about all these things, how you're gonna move things around, what you're gonna have. So you say, in this case, I have a whole bunch of buildings that are producing grain, and there's windmills here, but all my bakeries are in this area. As a result, I'm gonna have a problem, because I'm not gonna have enough food here being produced, because it takes a while for all this to come here, and in order to transport all this, I need a sufficient number of people working in the storehouses and no other kind of priorities for them to move the products and so on. This kind of, in a way, creates a situation where I might have lots of grain stashed away and lots of flour stashed away in this area, but not enough here, because I did not build up the proper infrastructure. So kind of, like I said, it kind of sets you thinking the way would, let's say, in upper management thinks about in companies, because they can't really tell directly to workers what to do. That's, you know, the lower down managers do so, distribute work, but they set out priorities and general structures of how things are going to be handled in the company, and then they watch how it happens, and you have to think about it. So we talked about this. Let's see what else is available to us in terms of in the game itself. We kind of saw how it all plays out. I'm going to jump out from here to the actual main section of the game, main menu, and show you a few other things that are available in the game. So besides this whole, playing the skirmish maps, there's also ability to customize the skirmish map. So here it is, same skirmish map again. I go into what's called the map forge, and I can customize it. Now here I can do a lot of different things. I can set out how many victory points I want to have, what kind of victory points available, what kind of resources will be available on the map, how the sectors, different sectors will be handled, different events, different special sectors, and what quests they'll be giving out to complete. Same way I can also change the technology tree. There's different technology trees that will change things up. There's a different trees for the trade that can be done. So again, changes things up. So this adds more kind of variety to the skirmish maps. It adds more replayability. I think this is a very good selection to it. Then there's also Castle Forge. Now this is purely cosmetic thing. So you kind of build up your own castle. So you get to choose different things the way you want them to be. All different items are customizable, and if you don't like, say what you start, because the game will give you a starting castle. If you don't like it, you can start all over new. You just can click here and say, I want to start with this kind of base, or this base, or this base, or this base, and just build up as you want. So there you go. That's pretty much everything that's available in the game. So overall, what do I think about the game? Well, I think it's a very good game. There's one issue that I have with the game, and that's there's a bug that sometimes the game freezes. Sometimes it freezes when you load the game. That's very annoying, because it means that you quite often have to restart the whole game or restart your whole system, because you cannot alt-tab out of the game. Really annoying. But it happens rarely, but it's annoying when it happens. One thing I forgot to mention is that the game awards you after you finish any mission with in-game currency, which you can use in a shop to buy things. And what you buy here in the shop is actually the cosmetic items, such as you can buy new things to how you can decorate your castle, to build stuff in the castle. You can buy a new map. You can buy also the new prestige objects that you can build in the actual game. These are just different variations of the existing ones, basically. So it's all cosmetics, except of course the new map, and there's also the new AI ones that you can buy. There you go. So again, some other elements here to spice up the game. So back to the whole idea of the game, what I think about it. So it's a very good game despite of that bug. The only And the reason I would say it's a very good game is because of this importance of the way they emphasize the management, supply chains and so on, thinking about that kind of stuff. You got intermediate products here now, the wood needs to be turned into something else, into boards, let's say, for construction. Iron has to be smelted. There's flour to be made. So some products are not just directly the idea that, oh, here's grain, you go directly to the bakery. No, it's there's intermediate processes, and you need to think about all the steps and all the prioritization of how you want to have things to make sure that your economy is operating efficiently. Additionally, the game forces you to think about such things as military, the trade, religion, and so on, technology, because all these elements also add kind of a complexity to it. Because let's say, actually, let me show you this. Because, like I said, you can only have. I'm gonna try to find the game here. There, that's exactly. You're gonna have situations where you want to exclude the enemy from certain technologies because you really need them. So you're gonna re-emphasize the way you're gonna build up your economy to focus on technology production and so on. So here I'm gonna show you exactly what this is the situation here. We are here. Here's the technology tree, and I specifically focus my production onto technology so that I can get the victory points for research, as well as cut out the enemy from any technologies. So as the enemy started researching, I started researching other technologies and literally just closed off the pathways to the enemy because I want all those efficiency technologies. And that's one of the ways to win. You don't have to go military-wise in terms of to beat the enemy, right? You don't have to conquer every territory or so on. Because of victory points available, you can just kind of build up a very efficient economy in a very small section, upgrade it with all the different technologies, and you can win because of that, because of your efficiencies and so on that are available to you. And so that's one way to do it. Also, military way is not the only way to conquer sectors. Neutral sectors can be conquered by sending your priests or sending money to them to bribe them to join your realm. That's the other way to do it. So again, it's another way to kind of conduct affairs here. All this is what I really liked about the game. So in addition, the fact that this game has occult technologies available in it, so that's something very interesting. That's what I think also adds more of an element that's of a cool game to it. Plus the fact that you are a king in terms of ruling over a kingdom, that's also pretty cool. So I think it's a very good, cool game. It's a settler game in a very, pretty much in the way I would feel about the games such as Settlers 1, Settlers 2. It's very similar to them in that way. And from that perspective, I would say that I think it's one of the two games in the world in the Settlers franchise that I would be interested in coming back and playing. It's this one, Settlers 7, and Settlers 2, the 10th anniversary edition, that I really like in the whole franchise. The other games I do not like as much, and I don't really feel like I would be coming back to play them. But this one and Settlers 2 10th anniversary edition, I would definitely be coming back to play if I ever kind of had a feeling that I want to play something like this, kind of kingdom management or kingdom builder type of game. Well, thank you for listening and for watching. If you like this video, please like it. If you didn't like it, don't like it, and please follow and subscribe.